No, that's true. It's not false. See, but I don't need Dostoevsky nor Nietzsche to announce the death of God. I believe that God has been marginalized and trivialized in the postmodern Western Christian culture. So when the death of God movement in the 60s, you remember that? Those that are hundreds of years old wouldn't know about that. Death of God. Again, they might have been speaking ontologically of the death of God, but that wasn't what Dostoevsky and Nietzsche were speaking about. He wasn't commenting. They weren't commenting on God got sick and died. That'd be very, very strange, wouldn't it? That the creator of the universe got ill and couldn't go to the doctor in time and just passed away. But his relevance. You see, our postmodern world, just here for the next 3 hours, postmodern world have gone from truth statements to what? To relevance. Well, truth has gone from epistemology and logic to hermeneutics. Truth statements are based in some kind of logical theory in epistemology. Relevance talk is over hermeneutics. Relevance is what gets us to, it's not relevant for me. So they don't ask what anymore. They want to know if it means anything to me.
Yeah, it's not whether something's true. It's
they don't even ask if it's true. They say that doesn't mean anything to me. It's like asking your lovely 5-6-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
And say, now how relevant? There's some equations that I'm going to write up on your dad's board. No, it's not relevant to me. She's not prepared to discuss whether it's true or not. So why would I do that? I wouldn't. But there's a difference between truth statements and relevancy. That's where you go to seeker-friendly and homiletics and church growth seminars, you know, how to have a mega church and win friends and influence people. You don't ask truth questions because that's divisive. You have consumer analysis and meet what?
Felt needs.
My felt needs. Now there's a radical difference, biblically and scientifically, between real needs and felt needs. Because you can create negatively felt, you have all kinds of needs, no question about that. We do. I don't mean you, I never just mean you. We're rearranging the chairs on the Titanic. But see, relevance is audience oriented. Now Hermes, the interpreter of the gods, you know where hermeneutics comes. You know it, you don't need to do that. But hermeneutics, you have to go through logic, you have to do philosophy and linguistic analysis. What happens to postmodern hermeneutics? That it's seeker-friendly. Because hermeneutics always asks the audience what they think. It's like going to medical school and asking in an anatomy class, what do you think about all these weird bones here? Or chemistry class. If somebody's teaching chemistry,
how do you feel about that?
Yeah, you get a health report. Well, no, you see, but the move was from epistemology to hermeneutics in this discussion. They no longer ask the truth question. Do you remember, I think it was in the Bible, someone asked, what is truth? You remember that statement?
Yeah, Pontius Pilate.
Pontius the Pilate. What is truth? Now, the form of the question is whether he intended to or to bamboozle Jesus is totally, don't get a sermon on that. Please. If you're doing it for my sake, just forget all about kill yourself rather than do that. But what is truth? Because he had made the statement, what? I am the way. Now that's rather egocentric, I think.
Definitely.
But I think C.S. Lewis, just sermonically, Jesus is a lunatic, a liar, or a Lord. I see no escape from that. If he's Lord, it makes all the sense in the world. If he's a liar or a lunatic, well then forget all about it. Anyway, now I don't think C.S. Lewis is an openness theologian. But it wouldn't make any difference if he were, so he's not the criteria anyway. But anyway, from epistemology to hermeneutics, preoccupation with hermeneutics. And Hermes was the interpreter of the gods. Now I have several lines from the statements of the gods in the oracular temples, like in Corinth, to speak in tongues. You got 3 chapters in 1 Corinthians, because they had oracular priests speaking in tongues in the temple. And the difference, why you got 3 chapters in 1 Corinthians, because the Christians were raised in the context of the temple oracular pronouncement, but you could never make any sense out of what the oracle said. And Paul said, now see, I believe in Satan. I believe in Ephesians 6. I believe Satan's power. I believe people that speak in tongues. We've heard that. That's not necessarily God. I don't know what they say. So I don't say, well, you can't do that. Well, if you do it, I guess you can. But I want to know what new information you're bringing to the cause. But anyway, in the oracular temple, they had priests that made pronouncements. Any day, every day. It's in the records. But you can't make any sense. Even a linguist, and certainly not a Greek student, can't make any sense out of the pronouncement. But if the gods were speaking, it wouldn't make any difference when it made any sense, because the gods were speaking. But when it comes to Corinth, what did Paul say, which is a direct confrontation with the oracular pronouncements in the temple?
If it doesn't make sense, don't
If
say
it doesn't make sense, do not speak. Well, that seems awful simple,
Yeah.
but it is not, because they heard things that didn't make any sense anytime they went to the temple.
They were used to it.
They were used to it not making sense.
It's part of the show.
It's part of the showmanship, one-upmanship. You got that. Well, you got that. Hermeneutics is about how we acquire and justify true statements. Hermeneutics is how we bring understanding out of one horizon into another horizon. That's just where you stand and where somebody else stands. How do you make a horizontal move? How many of you have teach or taught or have gone to grade school or preschool? You do that? Now, have you ever gotten a letter from mom and dad saying, my student, my young lady or young gentleman, have no intention of learning anything new? Did they ever say that? Did you ever get a note from them? See, the child has to learn how not to want to learn. You don't come wired not to want to learn. And you don't come and say, well, I don't know that. I have told students, he knows what I do. I turn him every way but loose. Students say, well, I didn't know that. I said, why would you worry about that? You don't know most things. They said, what? They called their mom and dad. Well, anyway, a child has to learn to what? A child has a propensity, just like Chompsky's language acquisition. A child can learn, a little 3 or 4-year-old child can use a language, complex language, and make sense and have no idea about its grammatical structure, none whatsoever. Well, see, naturalistic evolution has fits over there. But see, that's a fact, whether they have fits or not. They can just have another fit. Because you cannot empirically understand. Then when we teach language in university, what do? Just reverse the project. You memorize. That's not how a child learns language. Memorizing the Cal chart and the Luo chart and the periodic chart.
So you're a proponent for inductive methods?
Now, that's a inductive method. Induction is completely demonstrably false. Induction is always open-ended. You're never done with induction. See, all decisions are deductive, and that drives the postmodern world to mind, up the wall. Deductive. Because deduction has to start with an unproductive foundation. And if there is no foundation, then all you've got is an open-ended perimeter of constant attention to newer and newer things, like at the Areopagus. If it's newer, I'll listen. If I've heard it, I've heard that before. I'm not going there. I've heard that before. Heard that sermon last year. He said, I'm just a poor preacher. I know it because I heard you last week. Well, it's but these things, these moves make any sense to you. Then a heavy influence of Gadamer. Now, if you don't know Gadamer, I won't go into that, but Gadamer is used as high priest to save neo-evangelicals and neo-conservative people, because Gadamer is concerned with tradition. I don't need Gadamer to be concerned with tradition, but prior to that, they were only concerned with what? Because tradition is about the past. That's already intact. You either memorize and know the tradition, or how does it have to come to you? Text. Now, something in the Bible, just to locate this issue. What did Israel do repeatedly in Exodus and book of, I think it's Exodus and Deuteronomy, someplace in the Bible, I think it's those books. What every year, what did the family do? So,
Teach them the story.
they teach them the story. So they wouldn't forget.